The message came at 12:07 a.m., lighting up Daniel Harper's phone in the dark room. He had been half asleep, his mind floating between thoughts, when the screen vibrated softly on the bedside table. He reached for it without urgency, expecting spam or a late work email. The moment he read the words, sleep vanished. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." The sentence was short, cold, and unfinished, like a door slammed shut mid-conversation. Daniel sat up slowly, his heart starting to beat faster, his mouth dry. Outside, rain fell in steady lines, washing the city streets clean, as if nothing was wrong. Inside his chest, pressure built, sharp and confusing. He scrolled. There was another message. Then another. Screenshots followed. Bank statements, email threads, legal documents, names, dates, signatures. His name appeared often, but always at the edge, never at the center. Someone else had been acting in his place. One name kept repeating, Marcus Howell. Daniel stared at it, hoping it would blur, hoping his eyes were wrong. Marcus was more than a business partner. He was family in every way except blood. They had met 10 years ago in a cramped office with broken air conditioning and big plans. They had failed together, rebuilt together, celebrated small wins with cheap food and tired smiles. Marcus had stood beside him during his divorce, had promised loyalty when no one else did. Daniel stood up and walked to the window. The glass was cold against his forehead. Below, cars passed, headlights glowing, people going somewhere, living their lives. The world was still moving, unaware that his had just stopped. The messages explained everything without emotion. The shared company account had been drained over months, not all at once. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Contracts had been signed using authority Marcus technically had, but only because Daniel trusted him. The company they built together had been sold quietly to a larger firm. Daniel was listed as informed. He had never been told. The betrayal wasn't loud. There were no raised voices, no dramatic fights. It was clean, careful, planned. Daniel's hands shook as he dropped the phone onto the bed. His thoughts raced but found no direction. Anger came late. First came disbelief, heavy and slow. He opened old photos, scrolling through memories of success parties, late nights, and shared smiles. Marcus's face looked the same, honest, confident, unchanged. By morning, the truth was complete. Daniel sat in a lawyer's office with stale coffee cooling beside him. The lawyer spoke calmly, professionally, choosing words that avoided blame. Everything Marcus had done was legal. Morally questionable maybe, but legally sound. The paperwork was airtight. Daniel had trusted Marcus with access, and Marcus had used it fully. "There's little room to challenge this," the lawyer said gently. "I'm sorry." Daniel nodded. He had expected this. Somehow, it hurt less hearing it confirmed. The pain was already deep, already settled. When he left the building, the city felt different. Louder. Sharper. Every sound hit harder. He walked without direction, replaying every decision that led here. Every moment he had chosen trust over caution. Every time he had defended Marcus to others. By evening, the shock gave way to something colder. Daniel sat alone in his apartment. Lights off. City glow spilling through the windows. He no longer felt lost. He felt focused. The confusion faded, replaced by clarity that scared him. Marcus hadn't just taken money. He had taken time. Years. Identity. A future Daniel believed in. He had taken it without warning and walked away smiling. That could not stand. Daniel opened his laptop and began to read. Not emotional messages. Not memories. Facts. Business records. Public filings. Investor news. He learned fast. He always had. This time, learning felt different. Every new detail added weight, not relief. Marcus's new company was already gaining attention. Interviews praised his vision. Articles painted him as bold and fearless. Daniel read them all, feeling his jaw tighten with each word. So this was how it would be. Marcus would rise higher, untouched, while Daniel rebuilt from nothing. Thought formed quietly but firmly. No. Daniel didn't think of shouting or confrontation. He didn't imagine violence or chaos. His mind worked in straight lines. Marcus valued reputation, then reputation was the pressure point. If Marcus believed himself untouchable, then touch was exactly what he needed to feel. Still, doubt crept in. At night, Daniel lay awake remembering the past. The promises. The loyalty that once felt real. He wondered when Marcus had changed. Or if he himself had been blind all along. He asked himself if revenge would fix anything, or if it would only deepen the damage. The question didn't stop him. Days passed quickly. Daniel cut off social calls, ignored messages from friends who sensed something was wrong. He didn't explain. He didn't want sympathy. He wanted control. Meanwhile, Marcus felt the shift, though he didn't understand it yet. In his new office, surrounded by glass walls and polished surfaces, he enjoyed the success he told himself he deserved. He worked hard. He made tough choices. That was business, he believed. Daniel had been too cautious, too slow. Someone had to act. Still, Marcus avoided saying Daniel's name. He avoided checking his phone too often. Guilt came in small waves, easy to push aside during busy hours, harder to ignore at night. Back in his apartment, Daniel stared at the city again. But this time his reflection stared back. His face looked older. Harder. He didn't recognize himself fully, and that scared him more than Marcus ever had. Revenge promised balance, justice, closure. But it also demanded patience, silence, and sacrifice. Daniel closed his laptop and exhaled slowly. The path ahead was clear now, even if the ending wasn't. The betrayal had changed everything. There was no going back to who he had been before that message arrived. He didn't know yet how far he would go. He didn't know what it would cost him. What he knew was simple. The story was no longer about lost. It was about what he would choose to become next. Daniel's days lost their shape. Morning and night blended into long stretches of quiet work and restless thought. He woke early, not from alarms, but from tension that never fully slept. The betrayal no longer shocked him. It sat inside him, like a steady engine, pushing him forward. He built routines to stay sharp. Coffee, news, records. He studied Marcus's rise with the same care he once gave their shared company. Every interview, every press release, every smiling photo felt like a challenge. Marcus spoke of vision and courage, of risk and reward. He never mentioned the partner he left behind. Daniel learned how Marcus operated now. Who funded him? Who praised him? Who depended on him? He mapped it all in his head, connecting people and decisions, seeing patterns others missed. It felt familiar. This was the work he loved once. The difference was purpose. Before, he built something new. Now, he prepared to take something apart. Still, the conflict grew louder. Late at night, Daniel argued with himself. He asked what revenge would really give him. Money would not return. Trust would not repair. The past would not soften. Yet doing nothing felt worse. Silence felt like permission, like accepting that betrayal had no cost. He remembered Marcus. During their early years, hungry, driven, loyal, or so he thought. Daniel replayed moments, searching for signs. A glance held too long. A meeting taken alone. A promise delayed. Each memory changed under new light, reshaped by doubt. At the same time, Marcus began to feel pressure he couldn't name. His success was fast, almost too fast. Praise followed him everywhere, but it rang hollow. He told himself he had earned it. He worked harder than most. He made choices others were afraid to make. Daniel would have slowed everything down, Marcus believed. That would have ruined them both. Yet when Marcus sat alone at night, the quiet grew heavy. He remembered Daniel's face when they first signed papers together, hands shaking with excitement. He remembered promises spoken without thought. Of endings, guilt rose, sharp and unwanted. He pushed it away and focused on results. Results justified everything. Back in his apartment, Daniel stared at a single question written on a blank page. What does justice look like now? He knew he could expose Marcus publicly. The documents were there. The story was real. It would be loud, messy, and final. Marcus would fall fast. Daniel imagined the moment, the headlines, the shock. The thought brought a brief rush. Then it faded, leaving emptiness behind. He didn't want chaos. He wanted understanding. He wanted Marcus to feel the weight of what he had done, not as punishment, but as truth. Daniel began shaping a quieter plan. He gathered evidence carefully, making sure every detail was clean and clear. No rumors, no emotion, only facts, he imagined, placing them where they would do the most work without him needing to speak. Investors valued trust. Boards valued stability. Once doubt entered, it would spread on its own. Still, each step forward tightened something in his chest. He felt himself changing. He spoke less, smiled rarely. Friends noticed and asked questions. He answered with vague lines about stress and change. He didn't want to share the anger. It felt private. Dangerous. One evening, Daniel met an old colleague by chance. They talked about work, about life. When Marcus's name came up, Daniel felt his jaw lock. He said nothing, just listened as praise flowed freely. Visionary. Brave. Leader. Daniel went home and sat in the dark for a long time. He wondered if this was how bitterness began, quietly, dressed as purpose. Meanwhile, Marcus sensed distance forming around him. A few calls went unanswered. A deal took longer than expected. Nothing serious, but enough to unsettle him. He told himself it was normal. Growth always came with resistance. Then one night, he almost called Daniel. He stared at the phone, thumb hovering, heart beating faster. He imagined explaining everything. He imagined hearing Daniel's voice again, calm and controlled, asking questions Marcus didn't want to answer. The call would change nothing, or it would open wounds better left closed. Marcus put the phone down. Daniel's plan reached its final stage. He had the documents organized, verified, and ready. He knew the right people. He knew the timing mattered. Too early, and it would look like bitterness. Too late, and it would feel pointless. Waiting was the hardest part. During those days, Daniel questioned himself more than ever. He asked whether he was doing this to heal or to hurt, whether he was chasing balance or control. He saw how revenge had narrowed his world, how it had taken space meant for joy and replaced it with focus. Yet stopping now felt impossible. The night before he planned to act, Daniel barely slept. He walked the city streets before sunrise, breathing cold air, watching lights turn on in windows. Life was beginning for others. For him, it felt like standing on the edge of a decision that would shape everything after. He thought of Marcus again, not as an enemy, but as a man who chose himself over loyalty. He wondered if he would do the same in Marcus's place. The thought unsettled him. As morning came, Daniel returned home and sat with his laptop open. The files waited. The emails were drafted but unsent. His finger hovered over the trackpad. His mind racing. Revenge no longer felt simple. It felt heavy, layered with consequences he couldn't fully see yet. But walking away felt like letting the betrayal write the ending for him. Somewhere between anger and doubt, Daniel realized the truth. This moment was not about Marcus anymore. It was about who Daniel would be when this was over. He closed his eyes, steadying his breath, knowing that once he moved forward, there would be no undoing it.